a lot of chords. Thank you so much. So my name is Joe Jarrell. Some of you guys might know what I do, but now I'm a life coach for Catholic men. So it's a really cool job, very blessed to do it. And today we're going to be talking about a concept called drifting. And we're going to go over the 5 toxic habits of Catholic men that lead to drifting. Drifting is the concept of you kind of just going through life aimless without a plan, and the effects of that and why that's so bad. Okay. So I'm going to talk about Catholic men, toxic habits, but this is really good for the women too, because you get to see like what the problems are in the men that you're looking at or talking to or being led by or the men you marry. So it's very true. So how many women here maybe are looking for men and you want like strong Catholic men? Anyone? There you go. Catherine. See, this is important. I promise you, if you pay attention to these habits, just crack it up. So the ladies, I promise you, if you pay attention to these habits, you're going to be able to see it in the men, and you're going to be like, oh, I know why he's doing that. It'll give you clarity. And you can help him. All right, let's get started. So before I get into drifting, I want to tell you a little bit about me and like why is this guy standing up here? So I have a deep passion for helping men find their purpose and helping them be the best versions of themselves. I read a book once called 5 Regrets of the Dying, and it's about a nurse in Australia who was in hospice. She would usher people into death, and over time she collected hundreds of testimonials of what people's regrets were when they died. And she wrote a book about it. And the number one regret of people when they're dying is that they wish they would have lived a life true to themselves rather than what their friends and their family expected of them. And so if we just step outside of anything, devoid of any religion, everything like that, and we just say like, what are people really regretting in life? It's not being true to themselves. Okay? Now as Catholics, we know how hard that is in today's culture. So that's what I do. I help men find that. So who am I? So about 3-4 years ago, I found Catholicism. I found Christ. But before that, I really hated my life. So I lived in Milwaukee, and I had gone to engineering school, MSOE, if you guys know it. Didn't enjoy engineering, but my father wanted me to be an engineer. So I went. And then I graduated, and then I got a job, and then my mom wanted me to go to law school. She was like, that would be good for you. So I went to law school at Marquette. And not wanting to be a lawyer, but see, just people-pleasing, just going with the flow, drifting. I wasn't happy. And I could tell I wasn't happy, and I was reaching this climax in law school. At the time, I had found Catholicism, so I was discerning, and I didn't really know what to do with that. I was pretty indecisive. I was dating. Sorry, Father Zach, not supposed to do that, but I was indecisive. What else was I doing? I was doing fitness competitions, because I didn't know if I wanted to get into fitness. But I wanted to please my mom, so I went to law school. And so all of this was kind of reaching a climax, and I kind of snapped. I was like, I can't do all this. And so what I said was, I was like, I'm done. I'm not focusing on law school anymore. I'm just going to start a business and like coach men. That's what I want to do. So I started posting content. And at the time, I worked at a pretty prestigious law firm. And you guys know how corporate world is. My content was pretty conservative. And they fired me. They canceled me. I got blackballed from the legal industry in all of Wisconsin. And I was out of a job. I was out of law school. I was out of a job. And yeah, that's where we were. It was probably the lowest point in my life. So I started my business, but it was rough in the beginning because I had no money. And after 3 whole months, I had made $3,000. So I was making $12,000 a year. I was below poverty. But I still had rent and food to put on the table. I remember I would like get a client and then I would use the money and go buy groceries. That's how low we were. So I knew I needed to change, but I was living my life. I was like living my purpose, and I knew it. So I was like, I got to make this work. So that's when, lo and behold, I found my mentor, Brian, who's still one of my best friends today. Brian is a man who helps people grow companies. Very good friend of mine now. And Brian taught me some really interesting things. He's not Catholic, but he taught me how to remove toxic habits, how to make myself a better man, how to make integrity the name of the game. You do what you say you're going to do. You practice what you preach. And so I took everything that Brian was teaching me and I put it into my Catholic business. which was to help Catholic men. And it worked. He helped me find my purpose, my vision. He helped me remove toxic habits. And the company grew, and I grew, and life got really good. So I travel the world now. I'm going to Rome in 3 weeks, because why not? I started a podcast. I met the girl of my dreams. I got big. And then money's no longer an issue. So everything got amazing. Not saying, you guys all know, not saying this is like what we're shooting for, muscles and stuff, but you know what I mean. Life got better. When I set goals, I achieved them now. I wasn't inconsistent. So to do this, to make this successful, one of the things I had to do was take phone calls with Catholic men. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls. And I loved it. But they said things that started to resonate with me. Things that I used to feel. I hate my job. I hated law school. I can't quit porn. How many guys also, like everyone, right? I can't find a girl. I felt like that. Lost motivation. I'm broke. I was broke. I skipped prayer. How many of us, if I asked all of you to pray rosary every day for 30 days, do you think you could do it? Look in the mirror and tell yourself I can do it? I was inconsistent. But I knew how to fix this now because my company had grown. I got it. I'm like, I know how to help Catholic men. So the point of this talk today is to go over, I'm like summing up all of the habits that led to the Catholic men struggling with this. Okay, and I'm going to explain what they are and then how to fix them. Because that's what I figured out. And I want to share it with you guys. So let's go over the first toxic habit. Lack of definite purpose. This is the Holy Grail. This is it. As a man, you have a purpose, and you got to find it. This is the antithesis of drifting. Okay? If you have direction, if you have a vision, you have somewhere to go, and everything kind of falls into place, and I'll explain why. But if you don't have a purpose, and I don't mean love all, be like Christ. We all do that, but you know what I mean. There's something inside of you that gives you such a big desire where you're like, dude, I will move mountains to achieve it. Like, competition better get out of the way. That's the fire. That's what you need. Let me explain why. So if you don't have definite purpose, it leads to passivity. You're like docile. You're like lukewarm. Maybe not in your faith, but you know what I mean. You're almost like a pushover. Any guys feel that? Have you ever been like that when you don't know what you're doing? I felt like that. Yeah. Because you don't have that fire, that direction. You're easily influenced by fear and doubt. You don't trust yourself. You're scared of the woke culture. You're scared of being judged. You doubt yourself. You don't take action. And that leads to procrastination, right? You're not focused on the vision of what God's calling you to, so you just kind of hang out. You scroll on Instagram, watch Netflix a lot, too much, and you're not really making, you're not doing. And it leads to negative habits, right? From all of these, leads to negative habits. And then also external validation you start to rely on. So you don't care about how you feel, in prayer as much. You're worried about what other people are saying about you. Because you're no longer focused on that internal thing God's calling you to. So you're like, wow, I hope people accept me. I hope my friends say nice things to me. No. When you're focused on your purpose, it's all inside. It's you and God. Your examination of conscience takes care of all of that. So here's how to fix it. This is assuming you're not discerning seminary or you're not discerning religious life, because that's a whole, that's not my area of expertise. This is assuming you're living in the world, in the culture. These are the questions I want you guys to ask. Okay? What would you do if you only had 24 hours left to live? How would you spend your time? Okay? Assuming you can't just hang out with family and friends. What would you do with your labor? What would you and the boys talk about on weekends? You got cigars or you got whiskey? What's the topic of conversation? Because that's what's going to light you up. If money was no object, how would you spend your time? For me, it'd be coaching, it'd be talking. So I know I'm here. I know I'm on the right path. What does the world need? The world needs strong Christians. This is good for me. I'm doing a thing for the world. And then what are you good at? I'm good at yapping, so. So if you see, even if, and I put this pie chart here, even if you don't know exactly what you want, very few of us know exactly what we want to do as men, but you know probably the general idea. You know if you're meant to do finance compared to STEM or creative and communication. Do you want to make content? You know right off the bat. Okay, so you can start to get the general idea, but then you need to take action, and you need to go towards it. You might not know, you might even choose wrong too, because think of me, right? So I started in electrical engineering, so I'm an electrical engineer. That's totally different than law, public service. Now I'm into like whatever this is. So creative and communication, totally different. But I took action, I changed, okay? You cannot drift to the top of a mountain. Number 2, this might ruffle some feathers, okay? But the second most toxic habit I see in Catholic men is that they do not curate their friend group. So I'll get to the contract here in a second. I'll explain this, but when I was in college, I had what I would call a kind of toxic friend group. No offense, Curtis, not you, everyone else. So we were of the world. I wasn't Catholic yet, and we did all the things that people in the culture do, partying and drinking and all the other stuff. Why? Well, I was in a fraternity. That's what you do with your friends, your brothers. That's what you do. You hang out and you become like them. Okay, but when I left, and then I found Christ, and then I got around some really high-level people, all of my habits changed. Remember Brian, my mentor? I spent so many hours with him. You become the people you surround yourself with. Okay, you become the people you surround yourself with. As my friend group changed, I changed. Now, this is a contract from one of my best friends, Pedro. Pedro competes in fitness competitions, and he's so focused on his desire to win a show that he made a contract that said, he lives in Brazil right now, and he said, if I don't, he also works for me, I hired him because I'm like, this guy, he's a savage. So he said, if I miss my cardio protocol and workout plan one day, I work for Based and Built, that's the name of my company, I work for Based and Built for free for 6 months. And we both signed it. Can you imagine, every man in here, could you do that? Could you sign your name? Could you be like, I believe in myself so much that I'll never miss a workout until my show, which was like 3 months away. Or I have to give up basically indentured servitude for six months. That's the mindset. Those are the people I surround myself with. And he goes to daily mass, which is good. So, the friendventory. I don't want you to think that the only people you can spend your time with are people who are absolutely killing it. Because as Christians, that's not really what we do. We also evangelize. It's a huge part of what we do. So it's not so much the idea that like we only talk to killers, we only talk to savages. If you're not going to daily mass and you're not jacked, I don't hang out with you. No, that's not what we do. But there is something to be said about being around high-level people because they make you grow, okay? So I came up with the friendventory. This is great. We all have to be friends with everyone as Christians, but there's a different level. You should be able to kind of curate which friends you hang out with, okay? So there are people in the world who are kind of the once-a-year people, okay? And that's okay to say. They might share different values, they might have different goals, they might live in different places, but you're still a witness. There's once-a-month people. Might be a little closer. You might still try to walk with them in discipleship. Might be hanging out with them. But it's once a month. And then there's your inner circle, the people that get most of your time. If you become the people you surround yourself with, or as the old adage goes, you are the average of the 5 people closest to you, the 5 people closest to you should probably bring you up rather than down. So curate this. Make this so important. My 5 are like, besides Kurt, because he's with me all the time filming. Just kidding. These 5 people, millionaires, bodybuilders, priests, friar, brother Igor, people excelling in the areas I want to excel in, okay? If I want to grow in piety, I'm talking to a friar or a priest. I want to grow in my physique, I'm hanging out with a bodybuilder. That's how it goes. But I still walk with people, okay? Curate that. It's so important. Because what's the alternative? If you drift, you kind of just hang out with who's ever near you. Oh, these people go to my school. Oh, these people are from my hometown. And then 80 years goes by, and then you're in that lady's book, okay? Don't do that. Lack of courage. Boys, this is the biggest one. This is the biggest one. If I was the devil, I would and someone was like, what was the best tool you used in the 2020s? I would say fear. It's like, I got most guys with fear. So courage is, I watched every episode when I was a kid. Loved it. Okay, so what is courage? Courage is acting in the face of fear. So everyone, like, it's not special. Some guys say, like, I'm not afraid. Well, then there's no virtue to be had. It's when there is fear. Like, I remember in law school once, we were talking about the contraception case. I think it's Griswold v. Connecticut. And it's the one where they allowed contraception. And obviously the culture is so woke. I was so scared to speak up in class. I'm a confident guy. Like, I don't mind saying what's on my mind, but I was so scared. And I did it. I raised my hand and I said, like, hey, maybe this isn't so good. And everyone kind of roasted me, but I did it. I'm not saying that's like fighting in a war, but it's those moments when you have fear, okay? So there's 6 fears in life. I don't know if you know this, generally. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of a loved one, fear of old age, and fear of death. Those are the 6 main ones. The ones that get Catholic guys the most are fear of poverty and fear of criticism. You will toe the line like nothing else at a woke company because you're terrified of not having, them. They might like fire you. And if you get fired, you can't make money. If you can't make money, oh my gosh, you can't buy groceries. If you can't buy groceries, you can't eat, and then you're going to starve, and then you're going to die. That's where that fear is leading, that illogical fear. Nobody starves in America, so it is illogical. But you can see where it's coming from. Everywhere I worked before this was like super woke, and I did the DEI training, and I did the, unconscious bias training. Evan's shaking his head. He's like, he knows. I'm going to toe the line. I'm scared. Now, am I saying you have to revolt at your job? No. But be aware of this. Like, this is what they rely on. If I was the devil, this is what I'd want to do. I'd get in there, and I'd be like, look how scary it is. You better just toe the line. Don't chase your dream. Look, they have 80/20 health insurance. Isn't that comfy? Just stay. Ask her out? No way, dude. What if she says no? So first and foremost, fear makes you not take action. You won't ask the girl out. You won't chase your dream. You won't quit your job. You won't invest. You won't drop cash to invest in a mentor. It keeps you comfortable. That's the worst thing for a man is comfort. You got to get addicted to discomfort. Don't get up early because it saves you time. Get up early because it's literally uncomfortable. If you guys can get addicted to uncomfortableness, you get everything you want in life. And then it undermines self-belief. If you're scared, your subconscious knows that, and then you're going to look in the mirror at night, and you're not going to be able to say you believe in yourself. Okay? Can a lot of guys in this room go look in the mirror and say, I can do whatever I set my mind to. I believe in myself. It's scary. You ever heard the poem, The Man in the Glass? The only opinion that matters most is the man in the glass. It's true. Or Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. You have to believe in yourself, which means you cannot succumb to fear. You can't. In America, you're not going to starve, okay? And the other criticism I want to touch on real quick, the other fear is fear of criticism. You guys are so scared of being judged. We hate being socially ostracized. But if you're doing anything of importance in life, anything whatsoever, there's going to be haters, okay? Winston Churchill famously said, if you haven't upset anyone by 11 a.m., you haven't done anything of importance, okay? Just use that. So important. All right, 4, lack of mentorship. Oh my gosh, I love this. Okay, so if you want something, you have like a purpose. Let's say you did step 1, you found your purpose. The way to get there is you can either do it alone, right? Or you can hire someone, find someone to get you there quicker, all right? Time collapse it. Now I recommend this because the only asset we can't get back is time. Everything else you can get more of. And so I will always trade money for time. I will always trade things for time, assets, money, whatever, so I can learn the lessons and mistakes from others and get my goal quicker, okay? Now you might be saying, well, Joe, everyone has an opinion on what I should do in life. Whose counsel do I heed? Who do I listen to? Well, I created the hierarchy of authority, all right? This is really helpful. This is what I would use when people give me advice. My mom gives me advice on business. It's like, Mom, what are you doing? Stop that, okay? Father Zach might give me advice on business. I don't know. So people give you advice all the time, and you have to be able to filter it, all right? And like how to find someone to help you. So the lowest form of mentorship, I would say, is random people. Love you all, but if you give me advice, it's unreasonable that your advice would be the best I should follow, okay? The next level is people who know you, okay? If you need a mentor towards your goal, let's say I want to be a sculptor, okay? And you're like, how do I do this? We go to the people who know you. They know something about you. They might know your fears, your insecurities, what your gifts are, your charisms. They might be able to put you in the right direction. But still, they might not be experts. So the next level is people who have been where you want to go. If you want to get fit, Arnold would be a good guy to talk to. If you want to not be broke, maybe talk to Warren Buffett. Because they've been where you want to go. But that's actually not the best person to go to for mentorship, for counsel. The best person to go to is someone who has taken people like you to where you want to go. So they have a proven track record. They have a proven track record of taking people just like you to where your goal is. Okay? So if anyone has a dream, and I want to hear from you guys in a little bit. If anyone has a dream and you're like, I want to get to X, okay? I want to sell my paintings in a museum, or I want to be on relevant radio one day, whatever it is. Someone who has taken people just like you to that goal is the best person to go to, and you should invest in them. And by invest, I mean give money to, and learn from them and be like, teach me everything, and then you'll get there quicker, okay? Don't be afraid to invest either. Fear of poverty. All right, and the fifth and final toxic habit I see in Catholic men is inconsistent habits. If you start breaking your habits, that will lead to a lack of self-confidence. This is really important. Make sure you write this down. All confidence is a proven track record of you looking at your past and being like, yeah, I do what I say I'm going to do. I have a proven track record of me just being integral. That's all confidence is. Which means it doesn't have anything to do with you puffing your chest out, being like, okay, I'm going to ask her out. Let me do it. No, it has everything to do with your daily habits for months. Like, I know I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow because I've done it for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Why would I miss? Before I was Catholic, I was into self-development, and I had never even come across Christ or anything like that, like founded Catholicism, I mean. Haven't been exposed to it, but I found a life coach online, and he had done a stint in the California State Penitentiary, 10 years for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. But he had a big conversion story, became Christian, very Protestant, and he helps men grow. And I was really attracted to this. His name is Wes Watson. Now he's a multimillionaire, but at the time he had just got out of prison. Anyway, I had hired him. I was like, help me, I don't like my life. He taught me a really important lesson, which was, if you show me a man's habits, I'll show you his future. Everything is habits. Everything. You start with Christ, and then you have your plan, your vision, what God's calling you to. That's my vision. From that vision, you have some goals that you want to reach to get to that vision, right? If you say you want to own a home, well, there's a couple of goals you'd have to set before you just own a home. But then to reach goals, you have to set the daily habits that get you there, which means it starts with habits, everything, everything. Show me a man's habits, and I will show you his future. What I recommend to men in my program, and to anyone really, is to track your habits every day. What's a good habit? Probably prayer, maybe mental prayer and rosary. It's probably two good ones if you can't fit it in, daily mass. But then also probably hit a lift. Maybe hit your macros, if you guys know what that is. Nutrition thing. Those are some good ones. You can even put in sleep 7 hours. How about read? If you do these every day, and there's something called a habit tracker. I recommend James Clear's habit tracker. That's what I use. And you write them. And every day you just track them. Make it like a game. Like, oh, I don't want to miss the rosary today. I've been doing so well this month. And you just reinforce the habit. That is what changes your life. All the vision work and the motivation, all that's fun, but it's this. Daily habits executed day after day, compounded, changes your life. That's what changed mine. I posted content every day without missing for a year. And then I had a reel go viral, hit 1 million. And then my whole life changed. This is how you're going to change within the next 24 hours, okay? You're going to get clarity on your purpose. All right? You're going to sit in prayer and think about those questions I showed you, okay? And we're actually going to do an exercise after this to help you. So you're going to get clarity on that, and you're going to really spend time and ask yourself those questions. And then you're going to curate your friend group. And it might get a little awkward and uncomfortable, but you're going to start thinking about who gets your time. You're going to understand your fears and face them. Be mindful of them, self-aware. Oh, am I really going to be poor from this? If I do get judged for saying this thing, will it end my life? Probably not. Might as well do it anyway. Invest in a mentor. Now that you know what your purpose is, you're going to find someone who's taken people like you to where you're trying to go, and you're going to invest in them. And then you're going to stick to and track your habits. Now, before we get to Q&A, I want to take a few minutes and go back and give you guys maybe like 2 minutes to write these down and think about them. Answer them genuinely. Try to think. And then if you're brave enough, fear of criticism, once you share. Okay? So we'll take maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, and we'll go from there. Cool. So I would like at least one person to share and try to press against this fear of criticism, all right? Because it's the biggest thing I see with Catholic men, and after doing about 500 consultations right now, it's the biggest thing holding you back. So is there any man brave enough to share with the class what you think your dream is? Call it out. Yeah. Award-winning teacher? Nice. Can you clarify that for me? What do you mean by teacher? Get a little specific.
Like the classroom teacher, like on the golden apple or something.
Yeah, yeah. Why?
So that means that I'm actually doing my job.
Yeah, you're really helping people.
I'm actually making a difference.
Nice. That's really good, man. Thank you for sharing. The only piece of advice I'd give you is get really specific on it. What type of award do you want to win? When do you want it by? The more clarity you have in your vision, the more likely you are to achieve it. Yeah.
I want to be the best mental health therapist in Wisconsin.
Cool. I like it. How would you find a metric for that?
So I go to school for 6 years. That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
And then after that, I would get a job, and then I would start to like post online and stuff, get like a system going, and then start my own business. And
How would you say when you do choose, like, let's say the vision doesn't like work out for like what you thought you wanted, and then you switch tracks, how would you say are like some key indicators that you're on the right track then?
You're saying like you went towards something and then you realize like maybe you don't want it and then you're onto something else?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you really excited and joyful about the thing you do? If you ever discern, one of the questions they'll ask you is like, do you think you'd find joy in celebrating Mass? It's a good indication you're meant to do that. Do you find joy? I have joy every day. I love what I do. So that's the indicator. If you love it and you're like, there's this like old Japanese saying, it's not Catholic, but it's like something called ikigai, like your purpose, kind of like this. So what do you do? What do you love? It's like 4 things, but it's like their whole culture is kind of centered around that. They actually don't have a word for retire. So it's like your thing. And you'll know it if you have joy. Yeah. It's a good question. Also, it's a good question. It might change too in terms of the actual thing, but you know the direction. And usually if it's around like helping others, loving others, you're not going to be too far off track. But it is a journey. So, yeah. Yeah.
So if you like switch like careers or majors or anything, how do you like not feel behind? Like how do you not have that feeling like, oh, you're behind everybody else, or like you're not at the area of your life where you want to be at, you know, you're still
I would
in
say,
school.
yeah, I would say you're probably farther ahead than you would think because you took action. Most people never take any action. When you take action, you grow. Because if it was a bad move, you learn from it and you grow. If it was a good move, you're ahead. So never think like, don't compare yourself to others. It's only internal. So you could say like, I fell behind when I dropped out of law school. But did I? I got on my path that God called me to, and I've helped a bunch of Catholic men. It's like, I think I got ahead. Does that help? Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So like mine kind of ties into like the last 2 questions. It's like, what if you're going down something like this one path, and all you know is you just don't want to be on that, but you don't know.
Do you have?
What you want.
You have no idea what you want out of those 6 sectors. Could you land on one?
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so that's the focus of your life right now, because time's the only asset you can't get back. And so, yeah, dude, living the college experience is awesome. Like, but there's an opportunity cost with college that people don't talk about. It's not just the money you spend for tuition. It's your early 20s. It's pretty valuable time. So like, if you can put that towards the calling that God's calling you to, it's huge. So take time every day. Think of those questions. I think you guys would be surprised on how much simpler it is when you just let the Lord talk to you. Like, I talked all the time as a kid. I loved it. What I would look forward to is like family get-togethers, because I could like run in and just chat with every family member. It's like if I would have just like stepped back in prayer and just been like, what do I like to do? I like to give talks. It would have been so simple. Might not be that simple for you, but like, you got to put in the work. How many hours do you think you've put in into finding your purpose? There you go. Yeah. So put in the work. Cool. So fun. What else? Yeah.
All right, this is a little different, but like, how do you choose what like gym workouts you do every day? Because like, I feel like when I go to the gym, I like go there, but I like mindlessly do it. Like I was thinking that today. I'm like, I'm just lifting weights, but like, what is this like?
Yeah, well, for a small monthly fee, I can do it for you. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually not as big a deal. I mean, you could ChatGPT it. It's actually much more about the consistency. As long as you're progressively overloading, so every day that you go, the next week that you go to do the same exercise, you either did more repetitions or more weight.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you do PPL, bro split, dog style, upper and lower, it doesn't matter. Like if you got no idea, ChatGPT it, follow that religiously, and just execute every week, and then you'll see gains.
I'm like hitting more every week.
There you go.
It's like, I feel like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Happy to do a consultation for you, dog. Yeah.
Isn't it like mostly about diet though?
It is. 90% of it's diet. Especially not with muscle building. Weight loss is about 90% diet. With muscle building, you do need the protein, especially as a man.
Like a certain amount of protein, right?
Yeah, generally for men, a gram per pound of body weight. So for women, it's like 0.6. But yeah. Yeah, and maybe back to your point, is it Ryan? Yep, Ryan. Okay. Back to your point. Work out with a training buddy too. I don't know if you've ever hired a trainer. Even if you just did one session, hire a professional trainer. It's like $50 usually. And just be like, I want you to push me like I'm a bodybuilder. Teach me where my failure is. And it'll break your concept of like what actually pushing yourself in the gym is. And that's a huge thing. A lot of guys don't push themselves in the gym. But if you hire someone who's a professional, and be like, hey, teach me just this one day like what failure really is. You do that, the ChatGPT workout, and get your protein, you'll get big. Cool. Yeah.
Obviously, cell phones are a big issue.
What's that?
Cell phones, time on phones.
Yeah.
What would be some good boundaries you'd recommend to college students? So they can actually make these things work. I can see like, okay, I'm gonna have my phone on the table, I'm gonna start talking, it's listening to me, and I start seeing all this content on my phone. I used to see like 5 or 10 YouTube talks or Spotify or some talks. Like how do you, what do you recommend as far as like that cell phone time, but also you talk about listening?
Yeah.
I have all these voices, I'm receiving all this content being overwhelming, right? And then I just spin a circle on it. So what has been your question? What would be your recommendation as far as time on cell phone, boundaries?
Yeah.
Over ChatGPT and
Yeah. I'm a big ChatGPT guy, if you can't tell. Especially because you can, you can train models to like learn and then they really help you. But anyway, there's so much content out there. You get like content like desensitivity. I don't know if you guys feel that, where it's just like, there's just so much. And I'm saying that as a content creator, like it's just too much. So what I recommend is like obviously be purposeful about it, but don't just go to search just because you think it's a good idea. Like if you have a goal, like let's say like Father is giving a talk somewhere. Well, maybe it would be less reasonable to just like scroll through YouTube on like Bishop Barron talks or Father Mike Schmidt's talks for hours and hours. It might be better to like find someone who helps give talks or is like Monsignor Shea, maybe someone who specializes in giving talks, and like really focus in on something and like be purposeful with it. But too many of us just scroll, or we use the excuse on YouTube like, oh, I'm learning, but it's not purposeful learning. We just go to learn. So try not to do that ever. If you're going to learn, it's because it's part of like a plan. That's what I would say. Because I don't know if you feel that, but I'll just learn just to learn. Then it's like, I don't really remember. Was that really what I needed right now in life? Is this what God needed me to know? So yeah, purposeful learning. Yeah, did that help?
Yeah, also just like what recommendations for being unusable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I try not to touch my phone until after all the morning stuff is done, the morning routine is done. Everyone should have a morning routine. Don't touch it. Like if you do lauds or if you do a rosary or whatever, the phone doesn't get touched until you're done with prayer. And then at night, it doesn't get touched after a certain time. Especially in the bedroom, it doesn't go in the bedroom. That's a big thing for me, Father, is like the bed is for sleeping and your brain should think that. How many of us scroll on our phone before bed? Okay, your brain's freaking out. It's like, I thought this was the sleep thing. Why are we on our phone? Gets confused. So keep the phone out of the room and you're off it by like 7 p.m. or something. That's what I would recommend. Throughout the day, there's other things. There's a great book, How to Break Up with Your Phone, by a therapist. It's about like having the healthy relationship with your phone. I think apps are great. We all know of the apps like the Brick app or like the, there's like another app, but it forces you to like pause before you go on their phone. So those are really helpful too. So to sum up, I would say don't touch it after a certain time in the morning, don't touch it after a certain time at night, and then get an app on your phone that restricts the usage. Yeah?
How do you find like that balance between, so like you have things that you enjoy doing, but then there's those things where you have to do like homework or you have to study for a test or something. How do you find that balance? Like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm always doing homework instead of things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, so school shouldn't make you do homework all the time. Really, if you're doing productive work, maximum it's like, 10 hours a week if you're doing it correctly. And that's what I would focus on, because you have to understand like the organization you're part of, the school, they don't want you to burn out. That would be terrible for business. Like, they want you to keep going every year so you can keep paying them. So they don't make it too hard. Okay? Which means it's probably you. So what I do for work is no phone when Joe works, and then I put a Pomodoro timer on, which is a 25-minute timer. So it's 25 minutes on, and then it turns to 5 minutes off. So for 25 minutes, I got Catholic lo-fi playing, and like no one gets to interrupt me. No email, nothing, I work, and then 5 minutes off. Get a snack, check my phone. 25 minutes on. You do that, bro, you'll ace everyone. Okay? But always believe it's your fault. Love you. Cool. Yeah?
You mentioned reading before. Are there any like books that you would recommend? Anything you're talking about or like working on?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. So I would make scripture reading part of your daily life. Obviously, that should be one of the habits. A really good book on developing yourself is called Outwitting the Devil. It's a Protestant book, but it's an interview of the devil, and it's like what the devil is saying he would do to help to like ensnare you. Phenomenal. Outwitting the Devil. Yeah. Yes. On the to-do list. It's on the vision. You gonna buy it?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's one. Yeah.
How do you combat burnout?
You won't burn out if you love what you do. You won't burn out if you love what you do. I truly believe that. But at the same time, you have to take care of yourself. So 8 hours of sleep a night, 7 to 8. Drink enough water. Eat the normal people food. Don't eat processed foods. And if you love what you do, you won't burn out. Do you love what you do?
Yeah,
Cool. So are you sleeping 8 hours a night?
I try to.
Okay. At college, are you sure? I went to college. Kurt still hasn't slept 8 hours a night. Yeah. Do you truly find like you burn out?
From time to time.
Yeah. Is it the monotony of like college life, or is it more so like you genuinely lose the energy?
That's a tough question. I think it has to do with studying. I think sometimes I push myself to study too hard, and then that
Yeah.
leads to burnout.
Yeah.
Specifically for me.
Yeah. So when you study, do you do something similar to what we said, or are you doing it with the girls, and the TV's on?
I can't study with the TV on.
Okay. Are you studying in a group?
Now I haven't, as of lately.
Okay. When homework is like work, right? It's like your little work for until you're doing real work. And if you look at the most successful workers, how they work is like, there's time for group discussion, obviously, but they go in and they focus for like 25 minutes, no distractions, and then they come out and they take a break. And if you do like that half of the time, you'll probably have to study so much less. You'd be surprised. And you work on the hardest tasks first, the ones that require the most cognitive ability, like the question and answer or something, and you'll find that like you won't have to do as much work. You might be doing too much. You might be doing too much. I would have to do like a deeper dive, but that's what I would recommend. Get your sleep. It's always good. Yeah.
What's the best way you found to help keep yourself so motivated to achieving your goal that you won't accept to fail?
What else am I gonna do? Like, I have friggin' employees that like pay their families based on me. I have like a fiance who's led by me. I have 100 clients. Like, what am I gonna do? Let them down? No way. That would be such a disrespectful thing to do to God. I can't ever, ever let that happen. And that's the thoughts you have to have. Another key concept is your mind's like a garden. So those are the thoughts I foster and let grow in my head. And anything of like negativity or self-doubt, it's like a weed. I just rip it out. You're not allowed in my head. So curate your thoughts just like you curate your friend group. Just don't allow those thoughts in. Yeah.
Do you want to say like an influencer too or no?
No, she does not like to be on camera.
Oh, I didn't know if she did this kind of stuff.
No. One day, I'll convince her. I was like, do you want to be in my live? And she's like, absolutely not. Yeah.
So you were talking about like curating your thoughts on that. Do you have like any like good strategies that work for you that like essentially, to use the weed analogy, like pull the negative thoughts out by the root?
Do I have any examples?
Or like strategies?
Yeah. I literally, and this isn't a joke, part of my morning routine after I pray is I sit down and I walk through I don't think I've ever told anyone this. I walk through a garden of like different areas, like love and joy and caring and all these things, and I see if there's any weeds of like resentment, bitterness, frustration, envy, jealousy, anger. And I literally like rip them out. And what you're getting at though, this is what you can do. You can say, I'm not actually angry at my mom. I'm actually grateful that she told me this thing that made me so angry before, because now I actually understand where she's coming from. And so you can choose to find positivity in anything. As you might be able to tell, my mom frustrates me a lot. So I can say something like, I'm not upset she's telling me how to run my business. I'm actually happy that she's talking to me like this because it shows she cares so much about what I do. And then the anger's gone. I think it was Pascal, who was, I'm pretty sure, a theologian. Yeah, who said it's impossible to be mad at somebody if you understand them. So pull those weeds out every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard someone say, I can't remember what it was, probably TikTok to be honest, but it was talking about like how your mind, it's all about your mindset. And then they talked about like how hate is 4 letters, but so is love. And then sad is 3, but so is joy. So it's all about that mindset, and how you picture things and look at things.
Yeah, mindset's everything. Everything. Because thoughts lead to your actions, right? You have to think to like grab the water or something. So thoughts lead to your actions, and then actions place you in the circumstances that you're in, right? So really everything stems from thoughts. You have to guard this like a vault. You know, it's so important. Ask yourself if your friends talk like me. They probably don't. My friends talk like me though. The inner circle does. Because we don't allow negativity. We don't allow self-doubt. We have things to accomplish. Yeah.
How do you balance this like confidence and not accepting failure with also like having humility and recognizing that like we might not always be right?
Yeah. You give it your best shot every day. You know you're going to fail, right? We're all sinning every day. That's what the examination of conscience is for, though. It's like, I'm doing the Lord's work, but I'm so confident in my ability to do the Lord's work. I'm going to give it my best shot. But if you gave it your all, that's all God can ask for. So yeah, it's like, I know what you mean. It's like this balance of like humility and confidence. Have confidence in your ability to do the tasks, but have humility to like, it's God's plan. But you know what task you got to do. Really the only thing you need to focus on is the moment by moment tasks. Like, how many of us are planning to pray a rosary and then we just didn't do it? Has anyone done that? Yeah. All that really mattered in that moment was that you chose, like, it was the moment decision. That's what mattered. It was like, I'm not going to do it. But if you would have just been like, we're doing it, and you pray it, that's really what God wants. Even if you weren't focused, it's the moment by moment. So have the confidence to do the tasks no matter what, and the humility to know that God is like in charge of the plan. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Going once? Going twice? Yes.
I'm just kind of curious, how did you find like the Catholic faith? Because you said you became Christian.
Yeah. I found a Christian coach, but I was working at a law firm, and one of my friends, Evan knows him, and he just asked me one day, he was like, do you want to come hang out with us? I was kind of questioning things. It's like, maybe doing drugs isn't good. And he just one day, I think it was at St. Robert's, Evan, and he was like, do you want to just come hang out with us? And I said, sure. Weird Catholics, I don't know, these guys are weird, but they weren't, they were really cool. And I was like, oh, it kind of broke my beliefs. And then he asked me like a couple weeks later, do you want to come to Mass? I did. And then it kind of took off from there. And then if you guys know Father John Baumgartner, my friend was like, do you want to just meet my friend? He's a priest. I think he'd answer a lot of your questions. Then we got coffee. And then I was like, this guy's dope. So we hung out after that, and then I converted. Yeah. Father John, Evan, like, of course. Yeah.
So are your parents Catholic, and if they're not, or you have important people in your life that aren't, like, what do you do in those situations when they don't agree with the religion or
Yeah.
things like that?
Just anything you guys would probably do here as witnesses, like, understand them. They didn't have our experiences. They maybe haven't been exposed to the truth as much. They're on their own journey. Like my brother's a Wiccan, if you guys know what that is. Yeah. Not very Catholic. So, but he will call and ask me questions. Like, he's gay, and he'll ask me questions and be like, why do you guys hate gay people? It's like, before I just like freak out, this is like an opportunity to evangelize. For me to, like, why is he asking me this? He's questioning. So there's tons of people that are in my life that are just so far off the path. But it's like, you just got to understand. Be like, we actually don't think these things. We think these things. Just do it with love. But yeah, no one in my family is religious.
A lot of Protestant people have a lot of misconceptions about the Catholic faith, like in a negative way.
Totally.
Like, it's just a bunch of rules, stuff like that. Like, how do you go about those conversations? And like, when you still want to have those people in your life, but you don't want them to constantly be talking negative.
Yeah, there's a balance. If they're being like hurtful and like hateful, you know, consistently, maybe distance yourself for a bit. Maybe. I don't know how bad it is, but like generally just come from a place of understanding. If people are attacking your belief, they're emotional. It's like, understand them. Be like, wow, they must have had some beliefs about Catholicism that really made them think this. And then just ask them questions. Be like, what makes you think this? And it might even stem from something like, well, I talked to a priest once, he was such a jerk. It's like, okay, well, that's his problem. Just ask questions, get to know them. Dude, the secret to evangelizing is friendship. We all know this. The only way to be a true friend is like really care about them and love them. Like really care. Like, why would someone think this? That's interesting, man. I've never heard that before. What makes you think that? Yeah. Well, I just learned the priesthood. I was going down to see the Dominicans. No one in my family's religious. Got a brother who's playing with runes, and it's like no one got it. And like they were saying such mean things about priests, and you guys know. So it's like just trying to understand them, be a witness. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's like you have those type of friends or something, and then it's like, oh, like you're one of those people, or like, oh, you have to go to church, like that kind of thing, and it's like, no, I don't have to go, but like.
Yeah. Be like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to go to heaven though. Make it a joke. Like show them. Like, yeah, show them like you know what's going on. That's the thing. Most people don't know what's going on, especially if they're not part of the faith. And so like, it can be that. Ask a follow-up to them. Be like, yeah, I don't have to do anything, but I don't have to go to heaven though. I do want to. It sounds like a good plan. What makes you not want to go to church? Boom. And they're going to say something like, well, I was raised Baptist and the guy said a mean thing. It's like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Ask a follow-up. That's my key takeaway.
Sometimes you don't know what to say in the moment.
If it helps, for any conversation, like I teach this to guys who struggle socially, no matter what anyone says to you, you'll always be safe if you say, first you acknowledge, so you say, interesting, or I get that, and then you relate it to yourself. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that before, and then you ask a follow-up. That's like the golden rule for communication if you don't know how to just communicate normally. You just do that 3 steps and you'll get through anything. Like if you're ever stuck, just be like, oh, interesting. Yeah, I never heard that before. What makes you say that? If you want to be a sociopath and like robotically talk to people. Cool. Yeah. ChatGPT. A girl's talking to you, you're like, hold on. I gotta see what the learning model says. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
For us women in the room, if we have guys in our life that like we want to encourage and build up, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah. So you can only lead a horse to water, but don't settle is what I would say. And I know it's hard for women, but don't settle. Like, you're beautiful, you got standards, you know what you want. Men have to rise to that, right? It's their job. You don't want to be led by a weak man. That's bad for the whole family. So, and then pick the men that did it. They did the work, and you can see it in them. They don't do the work, they don't get the lady. I didn't make the rules, guys. Like, that's how it should be. So, don't settle. That's the takeaway. And guys, honestly, there's a whole world out there. You know, I don't go on like dating apps and stuff, but like there is a whole world out there. Reach out to people. You don't only have to date in your parish. If you don't find anyone there, like be active. And well, it's true. Like people will come up to me and be like, "There's no pretty girls. There's no girls to talk to in my parish, bro." And it's like there's a whole world out there. So, Michaela slid into my DMs. That's how I found her. Yeah.
So how did you decide to respond based off of just like?
She said, "Hi, will you be my husband?" with the hand raised emoji. And I was like, "Let me ask my mom." And then I said, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah." Yeah. I mean, it's tough. There's not as many of us because the world's gone crazy, but they're out there. But here's the cool thing: as a guy, if you really develop yourself, it doesn't become as big of an issue. So focus on yourself. Don't focus on like chasing the women. That'll help a lot. Focus on your daily habits. Yeah. Yeah.
If like the ultimate goal is heaven and like our real purpose in life is to be a saint, then how does intertwining the purpose of like the physical goal of like whatever that is?
Yeah.
How does that intertwine with actually reaching it?
Totally. I love that. I think about that a lot. I think God calls all men to do something with their charism. Otherwise, why did he give us a charism? So it's not so much that you have to have these grandiose dreams. Some people might. But as long as you're doing what God is calling you to every day, and you're doing that to the best of your ability, that is the path to sainthood. Like, if you're not doing that, and you're choosing to do something more comfortable, you're choosing comfort. You're scared. So God gave you a charism. Use it. It's probably combined with your interests and your passions, and then you have a charism. You do that. Because that really, bro, is the best way to help others. When you're most passionate about your thing and you're also good at the thing, like that's the best way to help others. And what is love if not like, helping others? So, not saying you can't, I don't know who becomes a saint. I'm not making those rules, but like if you do the thing you're really good at and you have a passion for, how could you not just like make the biggest waves? That's how I see it. Does that help? Yeah, good. Cool. All right. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming out. I appreciate it. You find me on Instagram.